So the next question here is, how does one measure understanding? This is a really, really big question. So I'm gonna alter it just a little bit so that it's a little bit more manageable to answer. And I'm gonna look at it, how do we measure understanding in respect to Bloom's taxonomy, because understanding is the second level up from the bottom. So if we're looking at understanding as a level of Bloom's taxonomy, then we're looking at shallow knowledge and how do we measure that level of knowledge. Well, that's actually an easier question to answer. If we're looking at how do I measure understanding on a huge scale, there's a lot of factors that go into that we can't cover with this question. But as we're looking at Bloom's taxonomy, if we're looking at the bottom three, remember, understand, and apply, these are things that we can actually do. These are rote. So remember would be simply, do you remember a line from the lecture, or do you remember the definition of covalent bond in chemistry, whatever your topic is? And understand is just a step above that, right? Do you understand what that means? When is a covalent bond, when does it become important? What are the electrons doing in a covalent bond, right? So these are things that are getting them to start to take what it is they're remembering and start to seeing connections between the two and really understand, and that's building that foundational level. So when we talk about how do we measure understanding, the types of questions that we're giving them are going to largely be the shallower end of questions, which are important, right? We don't want them to stay or linger in the shallow level, and if the only thing they're able to do well are these low-level things, then they're not developing and developing a deep comprehension of the materials, but they're absolutely necessary. It's necessary for them to remember and understand these things so they can go on and do the deeper things like create and evaluate. So how we measure that, in fact, the shallow things are really easy to measure. Again, using technology, putting quizzes, multiple choice quizzes, short answer questions online. There's a lot of things out there that we can leverage to do this, to give that instantaneous feedback that's related to the question I just answered not too long ago. And measuring that is so much easier. And then the faculty can log in to whatever site they're using and see what are the answers in aggregate look like, what is the distribution of these answers. And the students then have an ability to test their understanding. Do I understand, again, let's use this covalent bond example. I'm not a chemistry person, so I really don't know what I'm talking about, but if I have some sort of misunderstanding of what a covalent bond is, and I'm thinking covalent is ionic, then that's a good point in time where I can have that information repaired so that I understand that there are differences between them and that one is not the other. And it's also being measured in a way where I can start to see how I'm performing on these types of questions so that I'm migrating beyond the remember to the understand, and now I'm able to apply, and I'm performing better on the apply level questions. So hopefully that answers the question. I know the question might have been a bigger question, but for purposes of this Q&A, I think it's an easier question to answer.